close. Look at your competition you name. Do they have software skills? No. Do they have superchargers? No. Do they have gigafactory? No. Do they have a backlog? No.
In this video, I'll be reacting to a bull versus bear debate between Trip Chowdhry and Gordon Johnson. It's from June of 2018. It's old, but it's gold. And it's just a hilarious clip talking about the future of Tesla, bull versus bear debate. Let's get it started.
Gordon, it sounds like you're not too hot on Tesla's future here.
No, I'm not that hot on Tesla's future. And quite frankly, we find it kind of ridiculous. I'm a financial analyst, and what I do is analysis. And if you look at what Tesla's done over the past, since their beginning, if you look at their free cash flow, as a business, you need to make cash.
In December of 2022, Gordon's price target is $23. And if you look back to when this video was made in June of 2018, the price was around $23, which is just kind of a crazy coincidence. And they've grown at 50% a year for the past 4 years. And he still is thinking it's supposed to be around the same price.
Last year, they burnt about $3.5 billion in free cash flow. Last quarter, they burnt $1 billion. And everybody's focused on Model 3 production. And if you look at the numbers that came out from Business Insider, the numbers through June, if you do the math, suggest they're only producing less than 2,000 cars per week. They're targeting 5,000. Elon Musk has put out tweets suggesting they're at 3.5. So maybe the SEC should look into that. But we're not focused on any of that. The point is, do they make cash? Do they make money on cars produced? The answer is no. You did the montage of what they've done over the past few years. Let me give some statistics. In 2015, Elon Musk said they were going to be cash flow positive. They burnt $1.4 billion in cash that year. He missed those targets. In 2015, he said the Model S was going to have a gross margin of 25%. He said the Model X was going to have a gross margin of 30%. That year, they reported gross margins of 22%. I could go on and on.
Elon does make some predictions where people like to get on him that he's off by years, but it still ends up coming true. As you can see in Q3 of last year, he had 30% gross margin or automotive gross margins. In Q4, almost 31%. Q1 of this past year in 2022, 33%. And then as Berlin and Austin gigafactories opened up, the cost changed the gross margins, so it went down to 28%. Still unbelievable, the highest in the automotive industry. So I think that's like a big thing with a lot of Tesla skeptics is Elon says something that they're going to do this, and because he's maybe a year late, 2 years late, it still ends up happening, but people want to just like discredit him because maybe he was a year off or 2 years off. The technology still happened. His prediction was still correct. Maybe just the time was a little bit off, but 30% automotive gross margins aren't even close to the rest of the competition.
He's missed a lot of targets. He continues to miss targets. He continues to burn cash. I'm a financial analyst. I'm not an enthusiast. And for that fact, you got to look at the numbers, not the man and be an enthusiast about a man. You have to look at the numbers.
Trip, given that he is such a big disruptor and that the company is so disruptive to the broader auto industry, do those classical financial metrics that Gordon's talking about matter less in your eyes?
People are very skeptical. When he says they're going to grow up 50% a year, I look back at the history and yes, they have. People didn't believe that he would have reusable rockets. Electric vehicles would never become mainstream. He's pushing the narrative. It's very similar to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs would say certain things, I want to make it like this, and people would kind of just like blow him off and think he was BSing. Anyone that makes the reusable rockets, I'm going to have my faith in.
I think if the investors followed Gordon's logic, Amazon stock should have been a $2 stock and never recovered. So what Tesla is doing is they are creating an industry just like Amazon has created the industry.
That's exactly right. I would compare it to Apple, Netflix, Amazon. These are the big movers. These are the big innovators. People said, oh, Netflix not going to work. Blockbuster will figure it out. Oh, Apple's not going to work. I have a BlackBerry. You need a keyboard. With Amazon, oh, Walmart will just come in, and Target, all these other companies are going to compete. It's like it doesn't happen. When you have a superior product, people don't want this, thing that it's not the same. And a lot of haters maybe just don't get it or see it right away, but over time, people will even spend more for a better product. And listen to this clip of Steve Ballmer, how skeptical he is, former Microsoft, I think he was COO. And just look at how skeptical he is of the iPhone. They think, oh, the competition, you hear the same rhetoric with Tesla today. Oh, Volkswagen's coming, Ford's coming, GM's coming. They're making inferior products.
Steve Jobs goes to Macworld and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
A lot of the CEOs of other companies are mainly, in my opinion, just kind of salesmen. They're not really the engineers. They don't see the innovation in certain products. They're like, oh, $500 iPhone, who's gonna buy that? I don't see the difference. They don't understand it. And it's the same thing with Tesla. You go to I watch YouTube on the Tesla screen. You can watch, Netflix, Twitch while you're charging your car, full self-driving. These cars are not the same. To me, it's very similar to a smartphone versus the Razr flip phone. The Razr flip phone was super cool, and that could be your Ford or your Volkswagen has some cool features. It doesn't compete when your car can drive you.
It is vehicle production, it is battery production, it is software, it is autonomous driving, it is supercharging. Whatever Tesla is doing today has never been created before. All the naysayers were expert in their previous version of the industry, and they are completely clueless in the new industry that is being created as we speak.
100%, it's a completely new industry. It's mechanical engineering versus electrical engineering. And also to the point about the superchargers, to me, this would be similar to if Ford, when they first started, they made all the gas stations around the country, or even around the world. Tesla has the supercharging network. What other company has a supercharging network that their cars can specifically go to? Can you imagine if there was a Ford gas station that only Fords can go to these gas stations strategically placed around the world at a better price than what the other gas stations would be?
I want to hear from Mike on this one because actually both Gordon and Trip are making some pretty good points.
True. You really do have to have a tremendous amount of faith, though, in exactly how on top of it, this whole big new industry that's being created, this company is.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you really have to have some faith in Elon. I mean, to me, he's the greatest engineer of this time, starting from Zip.com to X, turned into PayPal, SpaceX, Solar City, Tesla, even partially OpenAI he founded with Neuralink. People look at him like he's just another normal person. Elon is damn near an alien. He's not comparable to other people. Even listen to this NASA engineer when he talks about he wants to make humans a multi-planetary species.
First started talking to me about, the ultimate goal of making humanity a multi-planetary species. You probably won't use this, but, this is what I thought.
Even a NASA engineer thinks he's just jerking him off. He thinks, that there's, it's BS what he's trying to do. To me, Steve Jobs was very similar. Steve Wozniak, is like, a lot of the things Steve Jobs would try to do, most people at the time would say, oh, that's not possible. Oh, you're just wasting your time. Elon's the exact same way. He has a vision and he wants to get it done. And a lot of people don't see that it's possible, but to me, the number one thing that gives him credibility in my eyes is reusable rockets. He outcompete NASA. NASA couldn't create reusable rockets. So, do you think most people when back in the day would think who has the best engineers in the world? I would say most people would probably say NASA has some of the smartest engineers in the world. I don't think too many people are saying GM, Volkswagen, or Ford have the best engineers in the world. I think it's SpaceX and Tesla. So for competition, yeah, I don't think they can compete.
Because right now, they have not necessarily earned the benefit of the doubt that they can accomplish, as Gordon was saying. I mean, 2 years ago, they said this year was going to be, I think, 500,000 units produced. It's going to be about half that, I mean, total units. So I do think you still have to have a lot of healthy skepticism about all these things.
The only skepticism I have is the competition. I don't believe, even let's say the competition comes and there's another electric vehicle. Are they going to have full self-driving? Realistically, if they're priced the same, would you buy a car that can drive you, that has better range, cheaper, or would you buy a more expensive version that couldn't drive you? It's not even comparable. And just even look at this video. Reusable rockets, to me, it's the greatest engineering innovation of our time.
Side booster landing legs have deployed. Landing zone. Side boosters have landed. Recovery operators move into procedure 11.100.
Also, a lot of my optimism has to do with full self-driving. And if you're skeptical about if full self-driving is going to work or if the other companies are going to have it before Tesla, I would have loved to hear your opinion on if you thought reusable rockets were possible before Elon made it possible.
Think about it. Tesla's revenues this year is going to be about $20 billion. People are buying Model 3s without even test driving it. When did you see any product people are buying which is more than $50,000 without touching, without feeling, without driving? And not only that, this $20 billion in revenues is being generated by zero advertisement dollars. This is the power behind Tesla. No other company anywhere on the planet comes even close.
100%. They still haven't spent money on advertising. Now that Elon has bought Twitter, I guess that could be seen as a form of advertising for Tesla. But still, they don't advertise in the Super Bowl, on TV commercials. If you watch TV, I would say 1 out of every 5 ads is a car commercial. So when you don't have to have ads and you're selling better than all the other companies, that's just a lost expense. And talking about the backlog, which was Model 3 back in the day, it's the same thing right now with the Cybertruck. Over 1 million pre-orders of the Cybertruck. If it comes out around $60,000, average price, 1 million times the 60,000, that puts you at 60 billion in backlog revenue.
Gordon, your response.
Let me respond to that. So since Tesla's existence, we've had no competition. When I say competition, 100% battery electric vehicle with over 200 miles of range. Last year, you had the first car, the Chevy Volt. Tesla said in the first half of last year they were going to grow Model S and X sales by 66%. The number was only 7%. Why? Because Chevy Volt came in and took a bunch of share. This year we have the Jaguar I-Pace, we have the Audi e-tron, we have the Hyundai Kona, and we have the Nissan Leaf. All cars 100% BEV with over 200 miles of range. For the first time ever, they're having competition. VW, Dieselgate for VW, they're coming in with a bunch of electric cars. They have real competition for the first time. They're not creating a new industry. The auto industry has been around forever, and they have real competition for people who know how to produce.
Tell me if Steve Ballmer doesn't sound a little bit similar with talking about the competition for the iPhone.
Our strategy, we've got great Windows mobile devices in the market today. You can get a Motorola Q phone now for $99. It's a very capable machine. It'll do music, it'll do internet, it'll do email, it'll do instant messaging. So I kind of look at that and I say, well, I like our strategy. I like it a lot.
How do you compete with that, though? He sucked out a lot of the spotlight in the last few weeks because of what happened at Macworld, not only with the iPhone, but with the new iPod. I mean, how do you compete with that, with the Zune?
Right now, well, let's take phones first.
Okay.
Right now, we're selling millions and millions and millions of phones a year. Apple is selling 0 phones a year. In 6 months, they'll have the most expensive phone by far ever in the marketplace. And let's see, what's the expression? Let's see how the competition goes.
I mean, that was about 15 years ago. It's cringy now to watch. It's actually hilarious. but it feels very, very, very similar to what's going on right now. Even if it's a similar time for recession too. In 2007, when the iPhone came out, split adjusted, Apple was about $9 a share. 2 years later, in 2009, going to 2010, it was at split adjusted $2 a share. It's damn near 75 times since then. Right now, it's just a bunch of noise. Tesla will be the biggest company in the world, producing 20 million cars, solar for the world. We'll look back at this video to see the competition.
Coming in, you have to look at cash flow. You have to look at their ability to compete. You're basing everything on belief in a man. You're a financial analyst. You're supposed to look at the numbers and do analysis.
Final word, Trip?
You are looking at the wrong numbers. The number is to look is revenues, how did they generate revenues, and what the backlog is.
What about cash flow?
What
if you don't make any cash flow, how do you stay? How do you remain as an ongoing entity if you're burning billions of dollars every quarter? How?
They're not burning billions of dollars anymore. Now they're net positive on their income per quarter. They did $3 billion this last quarter. It's only going to go up from here. They have $20 billion in cash on the side. Looking for a stock buyback soon. You have to be able to look out into the future.
A question for you.
How do you
these
stay in
all
business?
questions,
You're burning billions of dollars every quarter.
These all are irrelevant. The only thing that matters to the stock, how does that matter to the stock? Nothing. It has nothing to do with stock.
But it's not about
price.
stock price.
What matters for the stock is what matters for the stock is.
Are you an analyst?
How big is the backlog? How big is the backlog? Show me any of your competition that you named, even if they have 5 cars in their backlog. None. Tesla has more than $14.5 billion in backlog. No company in any industry, anywhere on the planet, has that much backlog. Why? Because you need to have multi-dimensional competency.
Correct. Wait till the Model 2 gets announced. When the Cybertruck comes out next year, like I said, they have over 1 million pre-orders of the Cybertruck. It originally came out supposed to be closer to 40,000. I think it's going to come out at least 60,000. The 1 million orders. It's going to take a few years to even be able to produce that many Cybertrucks, but right there is just 60 billion in back order of revenue. It's insane. And like you said, multi-dimensional competency, batteries, solar, Optimus, full self-driving software.
You should have capabilities and capacities in your production, in your supercharging stations, in your software. Think about it. People are talking about Waymo as an autonomous car. What does it look like? Do you think you'll have that car in your garage? They look like a reindeer. So basically, when you think about autonomous, it is individual autonomous cars, it is fleet autonomous cars, and then urban density cars. And there's only one company who has the foresight, software skills, and the intellect, and that is Tesla.
You know, it's a great debate.
Don't even come close. Look at your competition you name. Do they have software skills? No. Do they have superchargers? No. Do they have gigafactory? No. Do they have a backlog?
But do you realize they just recently
are you talking about?
Oh, Gordon's reaction here is just classic. He's getting so flustered. But you look back at this, it's like one of these dudes was right.
Gentlemen, we are out of time. Thank you both, though, very much for joining us. Chip Chowdhry and Gordon Johnson.
Thanks for watching, guys. I thought this was just a classic video, a bear versus bull debate. I've never seen Gordon that flustered with someone in a debate. Leave who you guys think won in the comments. My name is Sean, and I'm the Tesla Hyperbull. See you tomorrow.